In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever, a living God, not a spirit or a spook, but a human being, in whom is the power, the wisdom, the knowledge, and the manifestation of the perfect attributes of God. We thank Him for His coming, and we thank Him for raising up in our midst His choice, a divine messenger, but even more than that, the long sought after Messiah that the whole world has been looking for. But He is to come up among a people who were not expecting Him, a people who were considered no people at all. And He would come unto His own, but His own would not receive Him. And the light would shine in the darkness, but the darkness would not comprehend Him. But out of God's mercy, He would give us time and circumstances that we might come to see God and to see His servant as He is. The man of whom I speak is the man who taught me what I know and guides me even as I speak. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Messiah. I greet you with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Brothers and sisters, I thank Allah for the privilege of coming before you once again. I thank every member of the FOI and MGT, the laborers of Mosque Mariam, and those who labored with us to make our Savior's Day celebration a great success. It could not have happened without your help. It could not have happened, of course, without the help of Allah. I invited those who were serious about cleaning up our community to Mosque Mariam today, that I might go a little further into that which we were blessed to hear this past Monday night. There's a scripture in the Bible that reads, "Is there a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole? Is there a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul?" And of course, the question is answered. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. You can't live in a world like this and not have wounds. You can't come to birth in this world and live to be a teenager without bearing scars. The wounds that we as a people suffer is the very reason for the coming of God. The Jesus figure in the Bible is a healer there is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Black America to heal the sin-sick soul. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that according to the Holy Quran, the earth would be burdened, and at a certain time the earth would begin to shake as though it had received a revelation, and it would cast off its burden. What burden is the earth carrying? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that the earth doesn't really have a burden. Everything that's on the earth came from the earth, and the earth is quite capable of carrying what it produces. But he said to us that the burden that the earth is carrying is a wicked people. The earth was not created for the unrighteous. The earth was created to be a paradise for the righteous. But the wicked now hold sway on the earth, and they have become a burden on the earth and a burden to the people of the earth. So we are asked in our lessons, why isn't the devil settled on the best part of the planet Earth? And the answer is because the earth belongs to the original black man. And knowing that the devil was wicked, he put him out in the worst part of the earth and kept the best part preserved for himself. The best part is in Arabia at the holy city of Mecca. The Caucasian or colored man is the devil. Arabia is in the Far East and bordered by the Indian Ocean on the south. Why isn't the devil settled on the best part of the planet Earth? The devil in this lesson is the Caucasian. He has always wanted to settle in the Holy Land. And when he got there, always it produced war, and he was driven out. He was driven out 6,000 years ago because of his troublemaking in the Holy Land. And for 2,000 years, he lived in the hills and cave sides of Europe. But the moment Musa or Moses taught him, he taught him and civilized him that he could come back among the holy people. He sought always a way back, but he never got firmly settled there. Even though the Jews have literally stolen Palestine and called it Israel in the name of a promise made to Abraham, the fact that they are there, they are still unsettled because there are forces constantly there that keep them unsettled. They are unwanted in that sacred land. By the same token, the burden of an unrighteous people on the earth demands the coming of God to remove them from the earth. The removal of the wicked rulers of this world is a problem for God himself. The wicked are so entrenched that it will take God himself to remove them. And so is the burden of sin on us so heavy that it will take God himself to remove that burden. Sin is a heavy burden on the human mind, as obesity produces a heavy weight on the human frame. This frame was not made to carry the weight that we have put on it. And this mind was not created to carry the burden of sin. How do you know that, Brother Farrakhan? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that the brain cells are created to think right. Anytime we think other than right, we destroy the beauty of the brain cell, the power of the brain cell to bring up vision. What is thinking right? Thinking right is thinking in accord with fact or truth. Thinking right is beginning to understand truth and acting in accord with truth. Thinking right gives light and power to the mind that absolutely balances the physical systems of the body. You can eat good, you can have a lot of exercise, but if you think wrong, you can make yourself sick. Most of us are sick from what we eat, but we're even sicker by what we think. We assume things that may or may not be true, and then we act on the assumption as though the assumption is the truth, so the wrong thought produces the wrong action, which produces the wrong results, which increases the pressure back on the mind, and it becomes a circle of pressure. And that's what we live under today. We live under the pressure of wrong thinking. Why are we in this condition? The lesson says the devil taught us to eat the wrong kind of food. We're not only eating the wrong food physically, but the white man never wanted us to eat the right food spiritually and mentally. So today, everything that you think you know, God has to come and rearrange it or do away with it and give you a new mind. Because the mind that we presently have don't serve us. The mind that we presently have serves the one who taught us the foolishness that we exercise and has been responsible for the destructive behavior of the black community. So we need a new way of thinking. You can't have a new way of thinking until you get a new teaching. And at the root of that teaching, a new idea. And that idea must be consistent with truth and with the God who originated the heavens and the earth. That's why today, any man that comes up among us that will speak the truth will be set upon by this enemy government. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. Where are we wounded? The prodigal son was wounded. The man that went from Jerusalem to Jericho was wounded. He was wounded in his head. Nobody would help him. The priest walked by on the other side. The Levite showed compassion but did nothing. It wasn't until somebody came and poured oil in his wound that he began to be made whole. The difference between Jesus and all the other prophets is that the prophets taught about a future man coming, although they did great work, when the Jesus came on the scene, his whole work was meeting people, healing them as he met them, making them whole. He met a woman, and the woman wanted just to touch the hem of his garment. And he said to the woman, "Woman," she said, "if I could just touch the hem of his garment, I would be made whole." And the Jesus answered the woman, saying, "Woman, thy faith has made thee whole." Faith in whom? She heard something about this man, and she was trying to reach this man. She wanted to touch the hem of the garment of this man. The hem of the garment doesn't mean the hem of his literal garment. It means she wanted to get just the end part of the length of his knowledge. If I could just get some of your knowledge, I will be made whole. It's not the garment. That's why they call preachers men of the cloth. The cloth is the fabric of truth, and Jesus had a mighty long robe. He was decked from his head to his foot in a robe of truth. He was covered with truth. And she wanted to just reach the low part of his knowledge. She didn't want to get up high on his knowledge, just the hem of his garment. If I could just touch it, I would be made whole. He looked at the woman and said, "Woman, your faith, because you believe in me and what I teach, you don't even have to touch my garment. Your faith in me and my garment is sufficient to make you whole." This is why the enemy will do everything in his power to destroy the reputation of a man of God, so that you will lose faith in him, lose confidence in him. And when you lose faith and confidence in the man, you will take your hand from the garment. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. "Behold, I will send my messenger, and he will rise up with healing in his wings." What wings? The Quran says, "If you were an angel, I would have sent you an angel. But since you are men, I will send you a man." He's got to be flesh and blood. But healing would be in his wings. Wings don't mean that he had actual wings. It means the power that allowed him to rise up above the things that were shot at him. Wings represent knowledge. When you open a book, it looks like when they make a picture of a bird, they make it like an open book. It is knowledge that gives you wings. It is knowledge that gives you power. It is knowledge that frees you. The more knowledge you have, the higher you can fly. And the higher you can fly, then you have to meet the enemy in the air. And that's why the prince of the power of the air is the devil himself, and you can't meet him under the ground. You got to get up in the air because he's ruling from above you, throwing down suggestions into a foolish mind. He had healing in his wings. What kind of knowledge did God give Jesus? He gave him a knowledge that was sufficient to heal the condition of the people to whom he was sent. This is why the foolish people who judge the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and say that he's not a true messenger of God and that God never spoke to him or taught him. Yet nobody who has ever come to teach us has brought about the results that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad brings about. His teaching is a healing for black people. For every wound and scar that the white man has put on us by our sojourn in America, the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad heals it. They're trying to make a movie now on Malcolm X. In fact, they are making it. But what I've been able to read of the way they represent the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, is very sad. It reminds me of Barabbas and Jesus. The people were so low, they identified with Barabbas. They couldn't identify with Jesus. The world wants to honor the student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and condemn the teacher. The world wants to eat the fruit from the tree and then deny the tree that produced the fruit. How could you love the product of a teacher and dislike the teacher that produced the product? How could you say that it was a fluke that Elijah Muhammad did not produce Malcolm X? That Malcolm was some self-taught, self-made man? How could you say it was some accident when the same man, Elijah Muhammad, gave you Muhammad Ali? Not Cassius Clay. Cassius Clay's father gave you Cassius Clay. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave you Muhammad Ali, and Muhammad Ali not only whipped everything in front of him, but as long as he was with Elijah Muhammad, listen good to me, as long as he was with Elijah Muhammad, he whipped the government. When Malcolm left Elijah Muhammad, there was a fall. When Ali left Elijah Muhammad, see him now, there's a fall. When Warithuddin left Elijah Muhammad, there's a fall. Why? Because the man that we are leaving is the very foundation that God himself has asked us to stand on. I am more successful than Malcolm, though Malcolm was my teacher. Malcolm did not produce Farrakhan. Farrakhan is another product of Elijah Muhammad. Khalid Abdul Muhammad is another product of Elijah Muhammad. He electrifies people everywhere he goes. Akbar Muhammad is a product of Elijah Muhammad, and he electrifies people everywhere he goes. Well, why then can't you see that we are not the same old Negro, nigger, or colored person that you've been used to looking at? We are not made, wait a minute. We are not made by Harvard or Yale, nor are we made by Howard or Fisk. We are made by a black man who taught us. And if you can't get by the student, how in the hell you think you can get by the teacher? The worship of the student is folly. That's like worshiping Peter and Paul and James and John and Thomas and whatnot and denying Jesus. That's like saying that Abu Bakr and Ali and Umar should be worshiped and deny Prophet Muhammad. That's like saying that Aaron and Joshua and Caleb should be honored and you deny Moses. Right at this moment, I am the most successful black teacher in America or anywhere in the world. Listen. And don't think that I'm in some cheap boasting, because Allah hates any self-conceited boaster. That I'm not. I'm making a statement that bears witness to my teacher. If I am the most successful black person who is teaching and leading black people today or anywhere in the world, success in terms of getting a message over, success in terms of response to a message, what do you think the enemy is thinking? Do you think the enemy loves Malcolm? Malcolm called the enemy a devil straight out for 13 years. I was with him when he whipped them. And they were begging, is there some way that we can make amends? Brothers and sisters, if Malcolm, in that stage of his development, whipped every scholar that debated him, not because he was a college man, he was a student of a very sharp man, a very wise man. Well then, don't you think that there's a motive behind the Jews putting up this kind of money to make a movie? For all of these years, since Malcolm's death, and since the life and times of James Baldwin, who wrote the original script, nobody has been successful in making that movie. Why now? It's because of Farrakhan. He's a student of Elijah Muhammad, and he's rising to prominence. And the enemy says, if we don't stop him now, the whole world will go after him. And they're right. They're right. I told Spike Lee, we had a good talk together. And I said, brother, the enemy does not like you. I said, you can't put those subtle truths in your films and think that it escapes the eyes and the ears of a man who has spent his life keeping truth away from black people. Spike Lee is a very strong young man, a very courageous and brilliant young man. Yes, he is. But we can be strong and brilliant and yet deceived. I told our brother, I said, brother, ultimately they want to use you against me. I said, you see, brother, Brother Malcolm is dead, and Louis Farrakhan is alive. And white folk have never feared dead people. They always will give you a dead man to follow after they've corrupted the man's message. when you look at the movie, when you hear the movie, when you finally see the movie, you won't hardly recognize the wisdom that was in Malcolm from Elijah Muhammad, just little spatterings of it. But it's very superficial, because white folk don't want to heal your wounds. White folk want to inflict more wounds. What they're hoping is, in their portrayal of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that some of us will get very angry and reproduce the scenario that led to the assassination of Malcolm X. All of the emotions are present. There are those who love Malcolm tremendously, and they do not want a caricature of Malcolm made in the movie. That is not Mr. Lee's intention. Whether he shows them the script or not, his intention is not to make a caricature of Malcolm X. But certainly his intention is not to properly represent the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the power of his teachings. But as Brother Khalid said earlier, no weapon formed against the righteous will prosper. All the brothers are walking around with an X on their head now. That's really good. That's very good. That's very good. But where did it come from? Who gave Malcolm an X? What did he know about X? What does X mean? So when you wear the hat, and I don't have any objection to you wearing it, wear it, brother, and then come get yours. X in mathematics stands for the unknown. Malcolm was known as Malcolm Little. Little was his slave name. That was the name that the slave master gave to his great-grandfather. So when he woke up, he didn't want to be called by Little any more than you should be called by Johnson, James, Green, White, Brown, Whittier, Radcliffe, Muddy Water, Clearwater, O'Toole, O'Fool, whatever the name is. These are white folk names. You don't want to be called by their names. It's better to be called by an X. I don't know my name, but I am from God. I'm not the son of a tree, so don't call me Roundtree. I'm not derived from a color, so don't name me green and white and brown. I'm not the son of Jack, so don't call me Jackson. I'm not produced by a carpenter, so don't call me John Copper. I am a direct descendant of God, so let me wear the name of God, my Father. But until my wound has been healed, and until my sin-sick soul has been made well, I shall not take the name of the Lord my God in vain, so I'll just take an X while I qualify to wear a holy and righteous name of my own God. Malcolm X in death will do more to help move the masses of our people toward the truth. Even though the aim of the enemy is to literally destroy and obliterate the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and subtly Louis Farrakhan. It will not happen. Just won't happen. Won't happen. You too smart. They haven't calculated right. You're too hip today, brother. Boy, you are not going to allow the subtle maneuvering of a wise Warner Brothers and the writing of our brother who means well, but just had a bias. And you know, everybody got their own bias. And most people that don't know Elijah Muhammad, they don't really like him. What is it about him you don't like? The scripture says they hated him without a cause. But brothers, sisters, there is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There has never been a teacher that understood our wounds more than the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Oh yes, Marcus Garvey was a great teacher. Noble Drew Ali was a great teacher. W.E.B. Du Bois was a great teacher. These are great, great men. And no Muslim who follows the Honorable Elijah Muhammad will ever be seen not honoring the memory of Marcus Garvey and Noble Drew Ali and David Walker and these great giants among our people. No, brothers and sisters, we love these men. But the mere fact that Marcus Garvey opened the way, but still named his movement United Negro Improvement Association. See, he knew that black folk needed improvement, but he didn't have a sufficient deep enough knowledge of self to remove not only the name Negro, but to unmake a Negro and make a black man. It takes some doing, brother, to unmake what the white man has made and then remake you and make you a black man. And a black man in the image of God. That's some doing. It is erroneous to say that Elijah Muhammad was a student of Marcus Garvey or a student of Noble Drew Ali, because if in fact he were, you would hear the teachings of the teacher coming out in the student. You study the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, there's nothing that Garvey taught that equals what Elijah Muhammad taught. No way, shape, form, or fashion. Now, I'm not trying to be smart, I'm just telling facts, brother. Garvey taught a black nationalist philosophy. He taught economic development, political development, but the spiritual side of it, he said another man would handle that. He didn't have that. And if you don't correct the black man spiritually, you can't do nothing for him economically, politically, or any other way, because our disease is economic, it's political, but the depth of it is spiritual. Noble Drew Ali was right on the spiritual course. But he didn't live long enough to go far enough in that course. But I must hasten to tell you, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did it. He laid the foundation, brothers. And because I'm standing on his foundation, that's what makes me successful. I'm not successful of myself. I'm successful because I respect and honor the teacher. I'm successful because I'm standing on the base that he laid. There's a balm in Gilead. He's the doctor. Elijah Muhammad. That's what the name Elijah means. It means doctor. There's a bomb in Gilead. He's the doctor, Elijah Muhammad. That's what the name Elijah means. It means doctor. And it means cure. It means the answer. It means the solution. Elijah means all of that because it means God is present. God is the answer. God is the cure. God is the medicine. But who is God? We say God came to us in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad. That makes Muslims of the Orthodox stripe go almost insane. They say God cannot come in a person. Fine. You're wrong. God cannot come in a person. I say, brothers, look at all the attributes of God: the beneficent, the merciful, the mighty, the wise, the best knower, the grantor of security, the giver of life, the raiser of the dead. These are not attributes of spooks or spirits. These are attributes that manifest in men. Because you see God, not see him. You really don't know how to picture him. You just say, God. We can say apple, orange. If I say apple, you see an apple. I say an orange, you see an apple. I mean, an orange. If I say fork, you see a fork. If I say knife, you see a knife. Glass, you see a knife, a glass. Book, you see a book. God, nothing. Blank, you see nothing. So who is it that is this God that you worship? Well, now, things get strange right at that point. Well, we know he is. Well, we know he is. He exists, yes. But why call him he if it isn't a he? Why don't you say it exists? Because it is neuter, neither male nor female. Well, if God ain't male and he ain't female, then it's a it. Well, don't call him he then. Because when you say he, you're telling me that there's a he involved. Both Bible and Quran use he. Both Bible and Quran use the personal pronoun I. They say he sees, but he don't have eyes. He hears, doesn't have ears. He grieves and sorrows over the condition of human beings, but he is not human. But what is he interested in our affairs for if he ain't one of us? How can you be made in the image and likeness of zero and you are something but your God is nothing but you in his image? Yes, but the Quran says he neither begets nor is he begotten. That's true, but how do you understand that? I am not begotten. What? How did you get here then, Farrakhan? Farrakhan is not begotten. The body I live in was begotten. You don't produce Farrakhan with sperm. You don't produce Jesus with sperm. You don't produce Moses with sperm. You don't produce greatness with sperm. Sperm produces the house that we live in. And it is that house that is begotten, but what is in me? That was not begotten by sex. That was here before I came. It'll be here after I'm gone. It is the essence of God's own wisdom and spirit and energy. It came in, it goes out, but it is not begotten, nor does it beget. You say, but how is God called the ever-living? He can't be a man. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, before there was a sun, moon, and star, we were here. And the scholars have yet to find a sign of our birth record. They can't find it in the earth. They can't find it in the stars. So they say, he is from everlasting to everlasting, because they don't know his beginning. I want to say a couple more points and then we can close our topic today. Did you know, brothers and sisters, that God himself, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, brought himself into existence? He don't have a mother. He's self-created. After creating himself, he studies himself and produces us from self. The Quran says, Allah created male and female from a single essence. And he created our mate of the same kind. And from these two, he spread many men and women. Well, let's go back to the first two. Because the first two tells us who we are, since we are descendants of those first two. He created man from a single essence. What is the single essence that man is created from? It is from the essence of God himself. Then from that same essence, he creates a woman. The woman is God. The man is of God. And from these two, he creates many men and women. So what you have is a line coming out from two that expands into the billions. Where's the proof of it in our life? We start from the merger of sperm and egg. It produces a single cell. That's the way we started. From a single cell. How many cells are in your body now? Billions of cells. Started from one cell that halved, that split into two, then multiplied. And now you are one human being comprised of billions of cells, though you started from one cell. That is the same as the human family. It started from two that became one and then multiplied. Now you have 4 billion people on the earth, nearly 5 billion. But the root of the 5 billion is God. You're not listening. We are 78 trillion years, so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us, from a beginning. That's a long time, brother. beings coming up and going down in the earth for trillions of years. Trillions of years. And here we are, 78 trillion years from the beginning. What kind of person are we, people are we, who have been evolving for that many trillions of years? Do you know who you are? Man. God makes himself manifest in the fullness of time. And we are alive at the time that God makes himself manifest. Then who are you in the time of God's manifestation? You are at the same time that God is making himself known to the world, you are living. And you have been coming into existence since 78 trillion years, and you come now to the time of God's manifestation. So the perfect light of God breaks on a people now that are no people at all. But deep down in us, we represent 78 trillion years of evolution. Not Caucasian people. I'm talking about original people. Caucasian people have a very short time on this earth. They've been here a short time and they don't have long. If you're Caucasian, or members of your family are that, there's a way out for some if they take it. Bear with me a few more minutes. 78 trillion years we've been in the making. So many things that God held back until today. See if you can follow me, please. Jesus of 2,000 years ago told his disciples, there are many things that I could tell you. You can't bear it now. But when he is come, the Spirit of truth, he will guide you into all truth. Listen to his words. Many things that I could tell you. Why did he use the word could? I know it. And if the conditions were right, I would tell you. But it would be unjust of me to put on you a knowledge that you don't have a foundation to receive. Now I want you to listen to me really carefully. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote a letter, or an article once saying, asking the question, who is God, is like a child asking, who is my father? Every child should know who his father is. But the messenger said, but he should know it at the proper time. I don't understand that, you would say. I think that the father should be known immediately. Yes, if it's that common kind of father. But in the case of Jesus, poor Mary comes up pregnant during a time when the law of Moses said anybody guilty of fornication or adultery must be stoned to death. Now you can imagine Mary, the Holy Ghost visits her. Now that's a heck of a condition to be in. If it's a Holy Ghost visiting her, he's coming by night. So the people who are asleep at night won't see the ghost. But when the ghost is gone and the day comes, Mary is left with a child. Now, certainly in the first month, Mary can get by. Maybe the second month, but by the time the third and fourth month gets by, anybody looking at Mary would say, where's her husband? Did she get married? If she's not married, she's offended the law. And if she's offended the law, we ought to bring her before the law and stone her to death. So the scripture says, not wanting to make Mary a public example, he was minded to put her away privily, hide her. What does that have to do with many things I could tell you, but you can't bear it now? At some point, Jesus was going to have to get acquainted with his Father. There is not a mother that has a child and she keeps the knowledge of the Father away from that child. At a certain time, that child is going to ask that mother, where's my father? And you can tell the child your father's a no good so-and-so and so-and-so, but it doesn't matter. That child wants to know who my father is. I bugged my mother. Tell me about my father. And she kept on refusing. Today is the first time I found out what the name of my grandmother and grandfather on my father's side was. I found it out today for the first time. Now look, this is serious, man. This is the father who fathered my physical body. I wanted to know him. He's been dead. But since I never got acquainted with my physical father, God didn't want me to get acquainted on that level. He wanted me to get acquainted with that Father that is the Father of righteousness and wisdom, knowledge and power. Man, this is something. We want to know who is the Father, and we want to know who is God. But you should know it at the proper time. Everybody can't handle it. And if you give people knowledge before a foundation is laid for that knowledge, you destroy them. And that's why the Holy Quran says, ask not about things, the knowledge of which, if made known to you, would give you trouble. Inquiring minds do want to know. But inquiring minds ought to know when knowledge will be dangerous. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was such a wise teacher that when we asked him certain questions that would reveal his identity, listen to his answer. He said, if I answered that, you would see something that I am not ready for you to see now. Oh, brother. Listen to that answer. If I answer you, it would allow you to see something that I am not ready for you to see now. Knowledge is sight. But there are certain things that you are not prepared to see, and it is better that knowledge be withheld until you are prepared. Now, there are circumstances in your life where your mother may want to tell you something about herself, but you don't have a foundation to understand what your mother went through. So maybe your mother will hold that knowledge from you. And when you grow up and become a mother and get some experience with life, then your mother can say, daughter, this is something I wanted to tell you a long time. And when she reveals it to you, it doesn't blow your mind. It makes you love your mother all the more for having held that from you, even though you wanted to know it, but they held it because you were not ready to receive it. That's wise. Now, what does that have to do with 78 trillion years and a healing balm in Gilead? Brothers and sisters, God kept this knowledge of himself and the root knowledge of this world back. The knowledge of himself has been kept back from the public for over 66 trillion years. And the knowledge of the root of this world has been kept back for over 6,000 years. So Jesus said, I thank thee, Father in heaven, for keeping these things from the wise and the prudent man and revealing them unto babes. Well, why would you keep something from wise and prudent men and give it to babies? Because the babies were born in the right season with the right material to understand the right message at the right time and move with the right response to that message. And that's why God always comes on time. He never is too early or too late. He is always on time. He knows the season. And so when Master Farad Muhammad came to North America, the season was right. He knew that this was the people to receive the greatest of all truths. Why? A foundation had already been laid in you, but you didn't know it. I didn't know it. But he was looking for one man in whom he could deposit the knowledge. And that man had to be strong enough to carry that knowledge. The Quran says of Muhammad, I shall entrust you with a weighty word. This book, listen to me carefully now, this book is being revealed to Muhammad. And yet God is using a future tense. You shall be entrusted with a weighty word. Well, if this is the weighty word, you don't have to use the future tense. You are being entrusted with a weighty word. But the Quran uses a future tense because it's talking about a future Muhammad and a future time. Now, I just want to bear with me a couple more minutes. No. Brothers and sisters, Elijah Muhammad was entrusted with a weighty word. You do not put a weighty word on a shoulder that cannot carry it. Allah does not lay on any soul a burden beyond its scope. We might put that kind of burden on ourselves, but Allah will not do that. So whenever Allah entrusts a man with a word and a mission, the man is capable, even though he might not know it himself. Elijah Muhammad said these words to me. Listen carefully. He said, brother, the message that I have given you, completed, have given, present perfect tense. The message that I have given, it's over now, is nothing more than a wake-up message. The whole scope of Elijah Muhammad's teaching was to wake up a black man who's been asleep for 400 years. You don't wake up a black man. Wait a minute. Don't applaud. Don't applaud. Just think. You don't wake up a black man as dead as you are with a little tap. Oh, brother, would you please wake up now? It's time. go get somebody that's asleep in a deep sleep and whisper at the door, it's time to get up. You got to darn near kick the door down off the hinge and make noise. And then when he get up, he's going to get up crazy because he's been sleeping long. Do you understand me? You are a great people, but you're asleep and you need to be awake. And we have to keep the message in your ear because white folks have the capacity to lull you back to sleep. It's like a baby waking up and you put the pacifier in his mouth. So you got to keep shaking the baby because you want it to stay up. Here's some people walking around here talking about, don't you want a new teaching? Farrakhan is teaching the same old teaching. We want something new. So instead of waiting on God, you're going to make up something new, fool? I have a mission and an assignment. That's why I'm successful. You trying to make up a new teaching, you and 3 people? You trying to beat God to the punch with your new teaching? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told me, don't change the teaching while I'm gone. He said, but if you're faithful to me, I will reveal the new teaching through you. It is very much okay. It's wonderful. So you can't make me make up new teaching. But I can expound on the same old teaching that is to wake you up. Well, you and I sure need to be kept. Are you all right? Yes, sir. Elijah Muhammad left us in 1975. I declared to the world in 1981 that I believed he was very much alive. And I went before the world 3 years ago, held a press conference, and told them of a vision that I was given where Elijah Muhammad spoke to me. And I recognized his voice. And he gave me instructions. And I carried out his instructions. And even though people would say, the man is crazy, I told them in Washington, before you can make mockery of me, the wheel that I'm telling you that he's on will be over your heads. And I came on to Chicago, and the wheel showed up over Washington and was the discussion in Washington for 3 days. Elijah Muhammad, when I was talking to him in this vision, I saw a scroll roll down. The scroll was actually inside my head. But outside, I was looking at writing in English, cursive writing. And as I was getting ready to read it, he began speaking again, and I couldn't see the writing. In the history of Prophet Muhammad, the scholars say the Quran was revealed to his heart in one night at one time. He promised me a book. Well, Farrakhan, what are you saying to us? I am saying that we have arrived to the time that God is making himself manifest, and a people must be prepared for him to make them his glory. You can't put new wine in an old wineskin, lest the old wineskin break and the wine spill out. You got to make a new body. I told you on Monday night that 4 months ago I was afflicted with cancer. I was shocked, hurt, but not devastated. And at the same time that I was afflicted with cancer, I had hired a trainer to put me in the best physical shape of my life, not even realizing the fight that I had coming up. Please, just bear with me just a few more minutes. I refused to give in to disease. There is a balm in Gilead. That's my point. And the balm is not Dr. So-and-so. The balm is God himself. The medicine is his message. And if we follow that message, there is no illness that we have that we cannot be healed of. When I first began with the trainer, and he's here somewhere to bear witness to truth, I had a little universal weight set in my basement, and the first weight on it is 40 pounds. And he said, just push it up, see if you can do it 20 times. It was just 40 pounds. And I think I got to around 15 or so, but 20 was a little much. And he made a notation in his notes. Minister did fine for his first day, just a little weak muscular in his muscles. 4 months later, in the mountains, the minister struggling with 250 pounds, and the trainer thought I was finished, but I had already seen in my mind that I would lift every weight that we had up in the camp, which was 305 pounds. He didn't tell me how to lift it. God showed me how to lift it in the night. And I told him what I was shown. He said, that's right. And listen to me, man. I'm not spooky, brothers. And I wouldn't lie to you. I don't give a doggone if a gun was at my head, man. It's just too cheap to start lying to people that can't do nothing to me. I struggled with 250 pounds, but I got it up. They have a cradle for the weight, you know. I just barely made it to the cradle. So the trainer said, well, I think he's through now. In his own mind, I said, let's take it up higher. So I went away, and I was talking to myself all the time. He don't know what I was saying till later. He saw my lips moving. I kept talking. There's no power or strength except in Allah. There's no power or strength except in Allah. I am in Allah and Allah is in me. I go on back and sit down and deal. When I got to 270, I lifted that easier than 250. Then we said, take it up, and he took it up to 295. And he knew that one was too much. But when that bad boy came down on my chest, he thought when it hit, you could hear that thud, boop, you know. He went to help me, but he hit his knee, said, I can't help you. You got to do this one by yourself. And we pushed 295 up over the bar. Well, I just had to go reach back and put it on, not the cradle, but the stand. Then on the 305, I said, make it a negative weight, meaning let me control it coming down. And if you see me pushing it up, leave me alone. If I need help, then help me. When that thing hit my chest, when he looked, I had it here. And then I called on Allah and pushed it up, 305 pounds. When I hollered Allah's name, the guards that were in the camp, the cook, everybody ran thinking that the weight had hurt me. And when they ran over, they saw the little frail brother with 305 pounds over his head. Now, wait a minute. I'm telling you something that means something to me. I'm not trying to show off no strength. I didn't lift no 305 pounds. As a person, I can't do that. But with Allah, there ain't nothing I can't do. My mind was focused on God. That's my point. And the impossible became possible. And then when I reflect on the chapters that Elijah Muhammad gave me to study before he left, one of them is the 73rd surah. He said in it, rise by night and pray, for I shall entrust you with a weighty word. I am the man that's about to be entrusted with that weighty word. And as you don't think I'm able to carry 300 or 400 pounds on my back, you don't think I'm able to carry the weight of Quran. But God makes a man able to carry what he makes him to carry. This is not the Quran that the book is talking about. This is a sign of the book that is coming to guide you into the hereafter. This book leads you up to the hereafter. The Bible don't take you into the kingdom. The Bible gets you to the door and leaves you. Before he can put new wine in an old vessel, the old vessel got to be made right. I'm an example now of a vessel that is being renewed, restored right in front of your eyes. I will not get older. I will get younger. No, I don't need no applause. I just want people to think. God wants you to look at me, because he's going to do something with me that even though you're looking at it, you won't believe it. He wants you to listen to me because he's going to give me something to tell you that you should hear. It's time now. That's the point. And when it's time for something, nothing can hold it back. Regardless to how it comes, if it's time for you to know something, God will put it where it belongs, but you got to wrestle with it. Like I was fighting and struggling with that weight, but I finally got it up. That's the way it is with knowledge. When you come into knowledge that is beyond you, you wrestle with it, and it looks like it's going to throw you, but then you got to call on God. And when you call on God, he is always there when his servants call. And before you know it, you'll have the power to lift any weight. And that's the same way it is with burdens. Your burdens are light. And that's why Jesus said, all ye that are heavy laden, come unto me. And if you come unto me, I will give you rest. On Monday night, I said to the public, to the Christian people, yes, we know that Jesus saves. But brothers and sisters, black people need a living Jesus. We need one now that can save us from this wretched condition. And I'm humbly telling you, I have met that Jesus. And that Jesus is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He ain't no white man. Never was. He's one of your own brothers. And in his mouth is a knowledge that will save your life. How do you know that Elijah Muhammad is that Jesus? Because I am his student and I am his witness. You know, when you got a case and you go into court, one good witness can turn the thing in your favor. You may not have many witnesses. All you need is one good witness. Now, I want to ask you, am I or am I not, wait a minute, a witness for Jesus? Let me see. I was born in America among you. I went to school here. All my friends that know me, if you polled every one of them, not one friend of mine could ever say I was a rotten character. That's a hell of a thing, man. That you can grow up and everybody that know you, they can't say one dirty word against you with truth. When I met Elijah Muhammad, I was a musician. I gave that life up for this word. Elijah Muhammad told me when he first laid eyes on me in his house, he whispered in my ear. He said, "Brother, you remind me of David." And he walked away. Who is David? He was a musician. He was a tender of the sheep, but he was anointed of God. Elijah Muhammad knew me when he saw me. He knew what my future was when he met me, and he whispered in my ear to start me preparing for what I am now. You can take it or leave it. I'm not trying to impress you, because it really is irrelevant. If I'm lying, it'll be known. But if I'm telling the truth, God will back me up. I have always loved black people. I always wanted to see black people free. I have never loved the enemy. Never did I love the government of America. Never have I loved it. And I don't love it today. It is the worst enemy of black man, the government of the United States and its president. They are the worst enemies of our people, and it's time that you stop lying to yourself and wake up and smell the coffee. The white man is the modern Pharaoh, and you are the modern slave, and Elijah Muhammad is a modern Moses, and I am a modern Aaron, the witness bearer of that great man. Little did I know that I would one day have the task of rebuilding his work. Like David. David was a boy of ruddy complexion. They said he was rather handsome, but he was exceedingly strong. He didn't give a strong appearance, but he was very strong, because strength is not in this. Strength is in this. I remember once, after Malcolm was assassinated, they were saying that men were on the way to Chicago to kill the Honorable Elijah Muhammad during the Savior's Day Convention. And the former Supreme Captain Raymond Sharif came and asked us, brothers, which ones of you would like to stand post for the messenger today? He said, remember, if you stand post today, you may not live, you may lose your life. I was the first one on my feet. And Raymond Sharif looked at me with a smile and said, oh, brother, minister, it's very nice, you know, but I look frail, you know. And he said, brother, we need somebody who can stop a bullet. So he asked me to take my seat. I wanted to tell him, but I was very respectful. You don't stop bullet with fat. You don't stop a bullet with bulk. Stop a bullet with your mind. And if you know what to do with your mind, you can make your sinews like steel. But if you don't know it and don't have it here, this body ain't nothing but a big fat blob. You hear me? Or do you hear me? With this mind, we can make the hand so powerful that with a finger we can penetrate you. It's not done with the finger, it's done with the mind. It is the mind, like a magnet, that can pull the molecules of the flesh into one direction, making it like steel. You don't have that kind of mind, you don't have that kind of strength. You got the mind, but you don't have the focus. You got the mind, but you don't have the key. How to use the mind. That's why in karate, they tell you, you put your key on it. And when you focus and put the power of your being right at the end of that knuckle, you tear a man up with a blow. These movies, they have you hitting 65 and 70 times. That ain't real life. You hit a man right, you don't have to hit him but once. Mind. When Elijah Muhammad said, you like David. When it come time to pick somebody to lead the nation, little Farrakhan in New York, they didn't want me. They seen so many stronger men, so many more strong men. They pick over me. But the boy was anointed. Right in this house, sitting right in this section were all the messengers ministers. And he called me out and sat me in his seat. That was done in the days of David when he did it to Solomon, that the world may know this is my choice. But how do you prove that the man is the choice of God? Bust up the nation. Then give him nothing to start with, and with the help of God, he rebuilds it on his own with the backing of two beings. Nobody can claim this now. I didn't have the help of none of my father's great ministers or helpers or the helpers of his family. I had to go make help. But here we are. Jesse Jackson, my friend, when he wanted to run for president, he came to me. I didn't know what I was getting into, befriending the brother. I said, Reverend, I'll sit down with the council and we'll see if we will help you. And I sat down with the leadership of the nation, and we all agreed to help Reverend Jackson. Next thing I know, the Jews were passing out some little dossier to all the media on Jesse to create the same kind of atmosphere in the country that they're creating today with Clarence Thomas. See, there's a hidden hand behind that thing going on in Washington. The Jews in their writing said if that man admires Farrakhan, anything that Farrakhan says, there's no apology that he makes that will be sufficient for us. They don't want that man there. They dredged up that woman. There's not a man in here that has talked to any girl that he wanted to have something to do with, whose language didn't degenerate or become pornographic. And there's not a woman in here that has ever had a man talk fresh to her that couldn't stop him, not with words, stop him with a look and freeze his backside. You all know what I'm talking about. He sexually harassed me. Can't nobody harass you except you want to be harassed. Did I say that right? I mess it up some. I said it wrong. I'm sorry. Bad pronunciation. I'll get it better next time. Sister, that's game. You can't fool a man that know the nature of things with that kind of talk. He talked pornography to me. And he went on and on and on about, what the hell you mean he went on and on? You mean you couldn't stop him when he first started? Ain't one of you the dumbest woman in here know where a man is going when he open up his damn mouth. He don't even have to open his mouth. He can touch your hand. You know where he's going. And there's not one of these men that want to be rebuffed. So when you freeze him, you can't get hot when you're frozen. She'll put a deep freeze on you, brother. And if you had a little heat somewhere, it leaves quick. Unless you're a rapist. And the woman didn't say the man raped her. She didn't say the man touched her. He talked filthy. And that's harassment. We got to lynch every damn white man alive because they all talk filthy to you. I am a witness of Jesus Christ. I am a witness of that man. How are you a witness, Farrakhan? Jesus was born in the Roman Empire, and Rome was a punk in comparison to America. So that Jesus back there could only be a sign of one who would come in the last days in America, in the modern Babylon, the modern Egypt, the modern Sodom and Gomorrah, the modern Rome. America is all of it wrapped up in one. So you don't need no prophet. You need God wrapped up in a man. It takes God to deal with America. It takes God to deal with the black man's condition. No prophet can handle this. No prophet, not Muhammad, not Jesus of 2,000 years ago, not Moses, God and God alone. I'm a witness. I wasn't raised in Saudi Arabia. I wasn't raised in Egypt or Palestine. I was born in the ghetto in New York City. I'm a product of America, the hellhole of all hellholes. I was an honor student in school when I wanted to be. In the 7th grade, I started studying Latin. I was very good in English, and my Latin helped my English. I took French, Spanish, German, Latin, English before I got out of high school. Algebra, plane geometry, solid geometry, trigonometry, calculus before I got out of high school. So when I got to college, I never bought a book because what I had in high school was sufficient to take me through college. But I didn't want that. I wanted music. I wanted to see black people free. And so in 1955, I came to Chicago playing downtown at the Blue Angel nightclub at 801 North Rush Street. It's not there now. And I went to the Muslim convention that was held at Muhammad's Temple number 2, 5335 South Greenwood Avenue. And I heard Elijah Muhammad for myself. I had a process. You know what a process is. You know what it is. You got all kind of fancy names for it today. I had reefer in my hat band because I heard y'all search. I didn't want you to take my reefer, so I put it in the band of my hat so I could keep my head cool. And I came to the mosque and I was searched, and they took my wife and put her in another room. I was shook up. Where you going with my woman? I was tore down, brother. I understand how you feel, brothers. You come in for the first time, somebody put their hand up, you know what I mean, going all through you. And I was show business. Hey, my man, how you doing? Big smile. This brother didn't even smile. Just put your hands up, please. I said, what kind of place is this? You know what I mean? Take my wife, now and search me. And then they put me up in the balcony. I didn't have a front seat. They put me in a place because the messenger told Malcolm, put him where I can see him. They had been conferring on me. Malcolm had told the messenger, this young musician from Boston, he's very popular. He'll make a good Muslim. And then the messenger went to work on me. Now I'm here with Jesse Jackson, my friend. And the white folks want to attack Jesse. I don't like that, because I don't want nobody to hurt my brother. So I take the point, and before I know it, the Jews are on me. Well, who were the enemies of Jesus? Oh, you said it so right. Did they love Jesus or did they hate Jesus? Did they plot against him? Mm-hmm. Well, who among black leaders have the Jews attacked the most? Exactly right. Is the government like me? The president like me? The president talked about me. The vice president talked about me. The Senate censured me. The Jews hate me not only here, but all over the world. They all got together on little old me. Did I cave in? No. I fought back with truth, and they started wilting. You've seen it. That's exactly what Jesus did. I'm a witness of it. Well, Jesus worked miracles. Well, you can say that Farrakhan did too. Any organization destroyed by the U.S. government has never returned to its former glory. The Nation of Islam was destroyed, but it's on its way back to its former glory in a shorter period of time. Yeah, that's right. Just like Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead, I came to the tomb where you were buried. And I said, Lazarus, come forth, and you came forth because you heard your master's voice coming through your brother. Your eyes are open today. You may have come in here blind, but what I've said to you, your eyes are opening now. Your ears opening, and when you leave here, your tongue is going to start speaking. Your eyes are open today. You may have come in here blind, but what I've said to you, your eyes are opening now. Your ears opening, and when you leave here, your tongue is going to start speaking. So the man already has opened the eyes of the blind, made the deaf hear, the dumb speak, and this is a dead nation that he's raising to life. I'm a witness bearer for Jesus. There's a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There's a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. I didn't know that God had given me the power to heal people. I didn't know that. I got a brother here with me, Brother Akbar, who was with me and been with me how long, Brother Akbar? 26 years. In New York City, a brother had a muscular disease, could not walk. Am I telling the truth, brother? The brother wanted to say something to the Muslim community. We had to help him up on the rostrum. He went to stand and he was trembling so. I got up and I put my arms around him while he talked just to hold him steady. But I saw so much faith in the man. I said a prayer when he finished that God would restore his health. That was a Sunday. On Wednesday, the man was laying in his bed and his son was drilling on the floor, doing hot, hole. And the son said, Daddy, come on and drill with me. And before he would think about it, he jumped down on the floor and he started drilling with his son. And he looked, he was walking. He came to the mosque, ran up the stairs, opened the door to my office, ran in and did one of them karate kicks because he used to be a karate expert. I said, brother, go in and tell the congregation what Allah has done. Out here in Chicago, some of the Muslims said, oh man, that nigga Farrakhan going crazy. Nigga, now I think he can heal people. This is before I came into this office. I was in Columbus, Ohio. A woman came to me with her baby and asked me to bless her baby. Ain't nobody ever asked me to bless a baby before. I didn't know what she was talking about. I didn't want to tell her, no, ma'am, I ain't gonna bless your child. So I put my hand on the child's head and said a prayer. And I told the messenger, I said, dear apostle, I was in Columbus and a woman asked me to bless her child. And I said such and such and so and so. He said, yes, brother, whomsoever you bless is blessed. I'm just telling you what he said. I've learned to see that that is true. A young girl got so distraught with her mother, she jumped off an 8-story building to concrete in New York. I was there before the ambulance, praying for the child. When the ambulance came, I jumped in the ambulance with the doctor. This little girl, the doctor was trying to open her chest. her blouse, to hear her heart. Every time he went to open her blouse, she'd move his hand. She was unconscious, but in her subconscious, as a righteous girl, she knew no man had no right to unbutton her blouse. We got to the hospital. Her brain began to swell. The doctor came to me, to her mother, and said, we got to bore a hole in her head and let the pressure off. She came to me, what should I do? I said, just a minute. I went in the corner and prayed. I came back. I said, leave her head alone. They said, but if we don't do it, she'll die. I said, leave her head alone. The next day, the pressure went down. The girl is walking today without pins in her knees or ankles. Prayer changes things. I had tuberculosis as a young man. My wife is here, she can bear witness. I taught 7 days a week, 2 times on Sunday, traveling from Boston to Worcester and Providence. I studied hours a day. That's why I can stand up without notes today, because all I did was study and preach. And my wife would cook, and I was so tired of preaching. From preaching, I couldn't eat. And I developed a cough. And one day a woman came to me and said, Brother Lewis, I have a doctor I'd like to take you to. And I submitted, and I went to the doctor. He gave me a patch test. The patch test showed positive. The man said, you had tuberculosis, and you had it a long time. My God. I came out to see the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, told him what the doctor had told me. He shook his head. He said, brother, I have bronchial asthma. He said, but I have dreaded this tuberculosis. I have never had that. He never said another thing. I went on back to Boston, and that night I laid down in the bed, and I woke up, and there was this beautiful light in the form of a human being at the foot of my bed. I got up out of the bed, and I started walking around. My wife woke up and said, what are you doing out of the bed? So we had to sleep with the windows open, because when you have tuberculosis, you got to get a lot of fresh air. I said, honey, I don't have TB no more. Listen to me carefully. She said, I ain't gonna tell you what she said. But it goes something like this. You better get your backside back in this bed. Like you ain't got TB no more. Walking around with no covers on you, and you got the window open, you know what I mean? But I said, no, honey, something strange went on in this room. I don't have no TB no more. The next day I was to go to the doctor for the x-ray, not to know whether I had it, but to see the extent of the damage. That was on a Wednesday. And on Friday, the doctor called. And he was excited. And he said, Lewis. I said, I know. He said, what? I said, I don't have TB anymore. He said, that's right. He said, the only thing the x-ray showed up was a scar where the TB once was. Now I can take x-rays all day long. The scar is not even there anymore. That's the same way it happened with the cancer. On a Wednesday, I took the test. On a Friday, they said, I got cancer. 3 months later, I get an examination. They say, there's something there, but it's very minuscule. It is not the cancer. It looks like a scar or something. Scar. Something was there, but it's not there now, just a scar. I went up in the mountains to pray, and I went back 30 days later to have another examination. There wasn't even no scar no more. The gland was perfectly round. God healing me, and through me healing a nation. When I prayed on Monday night for us that were in that audience, I was asking Allah in the person of Master Farad Muhammad to demonstrate his power to every one of you that have any affliction at all. Because you don't believe God is a man. You don't believe that that man came and chose you to be his people. So somewhere, somehow, he's got to prove that he's God. So I prayed to him for you. I know you don't know him, many of you. But I didn't care whether you knew him, whether you liked him. I asked him to heal. And I mean, letters are coming, fax are coming, telephone calls are coming, people saying they were healed. I've never done anything like that before in my life. And I hope that a whole lot of people don't come around the house in wheelchairs and whatnot asking Brother Farrakhan to perform some miracle, because that's not my mission. But what I failed to say on Monday night was, I went up in the mountain to pray for my enemies. And I was going to pray that God kill every one of them. No, listen. I was so angry that some black people shot our brother captain in Baltimore, fired into his car 17 times, and with 3 bullets in him, his foot on the gas pedal and his head down. He drove the car turning corners and they turning with him, firing. He made it over a 7-foot fence with 3 bullets in him, and woke up one of the brothers who took him to the hospital, and within 48 hours he was back on the street. Allah is God. But I was so angry, I took that personal, because the enemy is so angry with our success now, they want to pick off the leaders of the nation, the strong helpers of the nation, one by one. So I said, to hell with this. I'm going up in the mountain and I'm going to talk to God and ask him to kill every one of my enemies. And when I went up in the mountain to thank God for my healing and to pray for my enemies, he told me that that wasn't the right prayer. You don't pray and ask God to kill your enemies when you're sent to deliver. Your people who are your enemies, but they're your enemies because they don't know any better. Those that aggress us, they won't aggress us anymore. It's very serious now. We will never be the aggressor. But anybody that comes against us, according to this book, don't spare them, brothers. Don't spare them. If they come after you with a gun, and Allah spares your life, and you hear the gun click and click, that's God. Take the gun from them and see, will he be as merciful to that person as he was to you? Kill them. This is a day when we're going to be tried. We got to stand up. I know what you think, because we're a tender-hearted people and we don't want to hurt nobody but self. You know how to kill each other, but you don't know how to take care of business with the enemy. Well, my dear brothers and sisters, God is about to entrust us with a weighty word and a weighty responsibility. 4 months ago, I asked you to get rid of this weight. Come down off of this fat. Get yourself in shape. Did I? Some of you have started. Some of you dragging your feet. It's up to you. But if you want to be made new, you might as well get started. If God is going to renew me, he's going to renew you. If God is going to entrust me with a weighty word and a weighty responsibility, he's going to entrust you with the same, because you are my helpers in this work. What I failed to tell you on Monday is that every one of you, no matter what your sins are, they have been forgiven. No, think, listen. I don't care what your sins are. That's one of the things I was supposed to say from the guidance of God that I received up in the mountain, that he's given us a chance now to get it right. So he himself took off of us the burden of our sins. I wanted you to know that. Well, suppose I committed murder. I said, no matter what you did, God has forgiven your sin. And that on Monday night was unconditional. No condition attached. But now that your slate is clean and your mind is free and the burden relieved, then you might as well come on to your God and get yourself together, and let's go save our people. Nobody is going to help black people if we don't. So in conclusion, I said to the sisters, come here. 90% of our women in the projects are mothers with no male in the house but children. Sisters, you can handle the females, but it's your male children that are really suffering. And when there is no man in the house, that little boy has no one to cling to but those rotten examples that he meets as he goes out in the streets to play. I say, sisters, come here, because we are your brothers, and your sons are our nephews. And every one of these Muslims, it is our duty as men to the young men and make something out of them, not try to make the woman. Sister, I came to look after your son. Brother may be married, but that's our brother's child that she got. And if our brother is not awake enough to take his responsibility, and we are awake, then we take the responsibility. We can't feed them and clothe them and shelter them, and maybe we can. But one thing we can do is give them a good, strong, righteous image that they can come up and have a chance to be a better man for the young girls that you are bringing to birth. I talked to you about fear. Brothers, you and I never were created with fear in us. God created you like a lion with no fear. And what the white man did was put fear in where there was no fear. And we became afraid to think, to move, to act. So all white people got to do is come and show their presence, and we start calming down. But brothers, when you get to know Allah and to fear only God, that's the only one that fear should be in you for, is God. Then all creation becomes your servant. Come out of fear by fearing God. And when you become afraid of God and nobody else, you're free, brothers. And then we will be like the lion that sits in the desert called the Sphinx. When we roar, everything in the jungle will keep quiet. When you become the lion, white folk will become the lamb. I don't think the lamb and the lion will lay down together, but it means the lamb-like nature of the black man and the lion-like nature is in the same man, and they will lie down together, the two natures together. Overcome fear. Sins given. On your way to healing, there is a balm in Gilead. And I'm going to close reading something from the Quran. Just a few words. Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
This is the 94th chapter of the Quran, and October the 7th was the 94th birthday of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, have we not expanded for thee thy breast, and removed from thee thy burden which weighed down thy back, and exalted for thee thy mention? Surely with difficulty is ease. And then Allah repeats it. With difficulty is surely ease. So when you are free from anxiety, work hard and make thy Lord thy exclusive object. Brothers and sisters, in order for us as a people to love each other, our breast has to be expanded. The prayer of Moses to God was, expand for me my breast. Every woman that has a baby will think that sometimes that baby, you love it so much you can never love another like you love that one. But every time you have another child, you find more love in you. And when you get the third child or the fourth child or the fifth child, there's still more love in you. And when you don't have children anymore, you can still love somebody else's child. Your breast continues to expand. Moses' mission was a big mission. So he needed a breast. You know, like when you take in more air, they measure your chest, deflate it, then they say, breathe in, and you breathe in, the chest lifts, it's expanded. What does that mean? We need a greater capacity for inspiration and a greater heart to teach that inspiration to the multitudes of the people. So God is telling Muhammad that I've expanded for you your breast, and I remove from you that burden. Sin is a burden. It's gone now. It's over. Your sins, he said, forgiven. In the book of Jeremiah, God says, I've taken your sins and I have cast them into the sea of forgetfulness. Man, you know we need a God like that, brother. Much as we messed up. That's a heck of a burden to be removed. Surely with difficulty is ease. And he repeats it again. Some scholars say, in the difficulty is the ease. And I bear witness. If you don't run from the difficulty, right in the difficulty you find the ease. I thank you for coming out today. I thank you for your attention. And I pray to Allah in the name of his messenger that you won't run from the difficulty of this hour, but in the very difficulty is ease. Let's take courage, face the difficulty, and let God bring the ease. And when he makes us free of anxiety, work hard, and let's make Allah our exclusive object. Thank you, and may Allah bless you as I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.